What up, what up? Mic check, 1 2 1 2. Can the people in the back hear me? Yes, I am back from vacation. It was nice. It was a good break. This is going to sound, I don't know, maybe selfish or greedy or something, but I did not really want to miss Friday. I saw some crazy trades come out of the market on Friday, to include Amazon, Tesla, NEO. All of those we're going to be talking about tonight. But man, what an awesome day for some of those stocks. And I hope that if you're in the Discord server, I hope that the Council of Elders and the Gladiators led you guys into some profitable trades, because there was a ton of opportunity in the market last week. Yep, so I just went out of town for a wedding and came right back, but unfortunately out of town for me was all the way across the country, right? So I flew to California for the weekend and came back. But it was a great time, nonetheless. It was a much-needed break. DTP, welcome in. Mike, Nabil, welcome. Sid, neighbor Jay, Rick, hello. You see my new message here. Subscribe while you wait. If you are new to the channel, new to the server, you won't have access to type in the top chat because you have to be a subscriber. But the good thing is you only have to be a subscriber for 1 minute. So subscribe and then you can chat there. I will be taking charting requests. Did I miss Cali? Yes and no. I had to fill up my so I had a rental car. I had to fill that up at the gas station at the close to the airport before I left, and it was close to like $5 a gallon. I think it might have been like $5.20 a gallon. So I don't miss that. I do not miss that. But I did have a California burrito, and I missed those. All right, welcome in everybody. This afternoon I'm going to be breaking down my top stock picks for tomorrow. I will be talking about some top stock picks for the rest of this week that present opportunity but may not be ready to be traded tomorrow. And then I will be opening up the floor to take any of your charting requests that you ask. Keep in mind that, look, I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. This is just my opinion on the stock market, and I happen to have really great opinions. So the first one on my list for tomorrow, hope you're taking notes. The first one on the list will be, drum roll please, NEO, N-I-O. N-I-O. So there's a couple of things going on with NEO, not even from a technical standpoint, although it does present a nice technical setup anyways. From a fundamental standpoint, NEO has positive news behind it, right? That's what this volume is right here. That's what caused this gap up over the $37 level of resistance. So if I were to just take this trend line here and extend it all the way back, this was a beautiful case of old resistance, or excuse me, old support here becoming new resistance here. By the way, I'm on the daily chart time frame. All right, I will always do my analysis on the daily. So yeah, old support became new resistance. It's been stuck under this 37 level of resistance for quite some time. It had gapped up and then just started moving sideways, range trading, if you will, under 37 until Friday. Got the positive news catalyst, bam, gapped up to 37 and then ran past the 50 EMA, but then ultimately closed just below it. What's more is that Tesla also had a run. And so with NEO and Tesla being both in the EV sector, you know, this might have been a little bit of a sympathy play off of Tesla, but I mean, it had its own news catalyst as well. So really double the reason why the stock looked good for a trade on Friday. But here's the deal. So since it's got that momentum behind it now, since it's up and over this resistance point, what I'm looking for is just a continuation trade to the top side. You see this gray shaded box here? You see this one here, you see this one here. Those are all gaps on the daily time frame. All right, I will indicate my gaps with a gray shaded box, makes them easier to see. So from where we are trading at right now on NEO, from last week's high of day up to this gap area, we're presented with a 3.1, 3.2% profit margin, which is great. But we're going to likely run into some resistance here at that 200 EMA. So there's going to be a couple of different ways that we can trade NEO going into tomorrow. And it's really going to depend on where we open up at. So I'm going to flip to the 5-minute time frame, and I want to show you guys this here. NEO after hours did run a little bit. Not much, but it did run a little bit. So the previous day's close is going to be right there. The previous day's high of day is going to be right there, right? And so we're trading pretty much right in the middle of those two zones. So this is how my plan is going to be adjusted in the morning. It depends on where we open. If NEO opens up underneath the previous day's closing price, if it opens up underneath 37.7, I will look to take NEO long over 37.7, because that would then be effectively what's known as a red to green move, and I think that there's potential for that to run up to the previous day's high of day. The flip side to that, the alternative to that, is that if NEO opens up above the previous day's closing price, then I'll be looking to take it long over the previous day's high of day, right? So if it opens up, even if it's right now, if it opened up flat, I would probably look to take it long at 38.3, right? Just to make it easy. So this plan that I'm giving out now is going to depend on where NEO decides to open up at. Right now, it's looking great for a continuation. It did pull back quite a bit, but it held most of the gains, had a nice little pump at the close, and then is up a little bit after hours. So hopefully this stays underneath the previous day's high of day. I don't really want to see this gap up too much. I want it to stay underneath 38.3. So the best case scenario is that we just take it long right over 38.3 for the run up. Now, there will be some likely resistance here at this 200 EMA. That's going to be around 38.8, but what I'm hoping is that the momentum is powerful enough to just push us right through that price point and run us all the way up to around 39.5. Right? We always aim for about a 2% profit margin. If we get stopped at that 200 EMA, we're stopping short at 1.3%, which means, you know, if we start to see some weakness around 38.80 and you're in a position, even if you're not up 20%, which is usually what we aim for, if you're not up 20%, it might just be a good idea to go ahead and close the position, so this doesn't come back on you at that time. But we'll see. We'll have to see where the money's flowing and what the momentum looks like. But NEO, yes, number one on the watch list for tomorrow. And by the way, these are in no particular order. I'm just calling them as I see them. If you're just joining in, welcome in. Thanks for attending the stream. What I'm doing is going over my main stocks, my top stock picks for tomorrow. I'll talk about some side charts that have potential later on this week, and then I'll be opening up the floor to taking charting requests towards the end of this live stream. Number two on the watch list for tomorrow is Uber, U-B-E-R. I haven't seen too many people mention this in the community, so I want to really kind of be the first one to bring your attention to this. Uber has been uptrending for quite some time. It's not very clean. This almost looks like what's known as a rising wedge, which is actually a bearish pattern, despite what it looks like. But I've seen this pattern also break out. So what I like about Uber is that this line of resistance that you see drawn on my chart here at 49, that is very clear. Not only recently, right? 49 was rejected there, 49 was rejected there. So not only recently has 49 acted as a resistance, but previously it was a major point of support. I mean, look at all these times it pulled back to test 49, right? We have resistance here, support there, support there, support there, support here, and then all throughout this whole area was acting as a support, and then recently a resistance, all right? So you get the idea. We're at the resistance area on Uber, and what I'm looking for is a break of $49 and the run up to 50. Yes, only a $1 profit margin, I know, but percentage-wise, that's right at that 2% that we aim for. All right, so we're looking for a 2% move on the stock, a 20% move on our options contracts, trading those weekly expirations. Looking for a move over 49 on Uber and the run to 50. What really attracted me to this setup was the fact that, well, not only the fact that it was running up, but Uber announced that they're going to they're leading toward having a profitable quarter, right? I think that was the news catalyst that made this jump in the first place. And then so since then, it hasn't really done a whole lot. It kind of shaped up like this bull pennant pattern here, and then broke out, but then rejected and came back down and then pushed back up. But when it rejected, what did it do? It put in a higher low, right? So it's maintaining this higher low formation on the way up. It has yet to put in a higher high, and that's exactly what we're looking for. We're looking for that higher high to be put in, so maybe we can get a large candle like this. Plus, earnings is coming up, so what happens, or what tends to happen sometimes, is that stocks run in anticipation of earnings. So with earnings coming up, with the news that they announced about having a profitable quarter, that there might be a little bit of hype going into the earnings report, and we might see the stock price start to reflect what investors think will come of that earnings report. All right, so Uber, just looking for a break of 49, profit target $1 ahead at 50. Very simple. All right, the next one on the watch list will be Apple. This is number 3 on the watch list for tomorrow. So I like Apple, but I don't know if tomorrow is going to be a larger move. Apple's been making these kind of smaller moves, trading somewhat choppy intraday, but it's starting to near a point where we could see, like it's nearing a point where we could see a larger breakout move, right? Some more momentum come in the stock, kind of like we've seen right here. So I try to wait when I'm putting stocks on the watch list. I'm trying to wait for a stock to get to a point where it has to make a decisive move. And if we can time that right, then we can get in on the day that it makes those explosive moves and capitalize on the initial push. Apple is one of those stocks that hasn't really done anything like that in quite some time, but it's starting to curl around here. So this is your downtrend from the highs, right? Downtrend from the highs, we break the downtrend, retest that downtrend as support, and start to push back up. So we're getting, number 1, a break of the downtrend. Number 2, this is what's known as a double bottom pattern, right? So this is it's shaped like a W. There's bottom 1, the neckline, bottom 2, and then this is our expected move from where we're currently at. And you can see we've already started to make that expected move on the way up. The third thing that's enticing about Apple is that it's trading not only at the neckline resistance, but also at the 50 EMA. Right, so the 50 EMA is that green dotted line. It's just a natural point of resistance. You see it resistance here, you see it as resistance there, and then we're seeing it once more right here. So a break of this neckline at 145 gives Apple a push over the 50 EMA, gives Apple a push over the neckline of the double bottom pattern, and truly confirms that we're putting in higher highs to validate this double bottom pattern on the way up. So I like Apple. Hopefully we have some market backing. That's the only thing about the Apple stock, is that it likes to follow the overall market. So if this is something that you're interested in trading, I would keep an eye on SPY. Right, SPY kind of dictates the overall market, or sentiment at least, and you want to be trading with the overall market sentiment as much as possible. All right, so that's number 3 on the watch list for tomorrow. So far we've talked about NIO, we've talked about Uber, we've talked about Apple. The last one that will be making my main chart will be Tesla. Of course, right? I think everybody and their mom is watching Tesla. So I originally had this drawn up as a range, and then one of my members said it could be an ascending triangle, and I slightly agreed with them. I see how they could have derived that. So it did put in higher lows on the way up with a flat top level of resistance. You got the breakout move there over 800 being the whole number, and then the run, and then the run, and then the big run last week, or at the end of last week. So right now I have a trend line drawn at 850. It seems a little obscure up here, but if we flip this to the 5-minute time frame, it makes sense, right? The stock pushed all the way to 850 after hours last week, and then that's where we wound up. So 850 is our breakover level, if you will, and there's not many resistance points overhead from here up to 900. So if we go, we're going to have to base this all off of this price action back here. So from 850, we're looking at a little bit of resistance right there at 860. Then above that is going to be 880 and then 900. So I think Tesla, if we get the momentum move over 850, I don't see it having a problem breaking 860. That resistance there doesn't seem incredibly strong. I think the magnet level here is going to be around 880. So from where we're currently at 850 up to 880, that gives us well over our 2% profit margin that we aim for. 3.5% profit margin there on Tesla. That's possible with a 30-point move, which Tesla is easily capable of doing. It might be a bit of a stretch for it to get to 880 in one day. We'd have to have a lot of momentum behind it, but earnings is coming up. And that in itself can be a positive catalyst. Just the fact that it's coming up, right, doesn't really matter. It doesn't even really matter what people think is going to happen in the report. Like I said, stocks love to price in earnings reports before they even come out, so you might start seeing these stocks move in anticipation of earnings. So for Tesla, it's just a simple continuation trade idea, long idea over 850. Yeah, sure, the RSI, I just saw somebody mention that the RSI is overbought. So this is your RSI indicator right here. It's saying that the stock is overbought. But it was also saying that the stock was overbought here when it was trading at 811, and it continued to run another 30 points beyond that. The RSI is a great indicator, but it does not matter in a trend that is parabolic, and it does not matter on a trend that is moving on a fundamental basis, right? And the fundamental basis here being that earnings is upcoming. So the RSI cannot be relied on as one as an indicator used solely by itself. Typically, what I like to do is combine the RSI usage with the MACD. And the MACD indicator tells you, right, when they cross that you might have a trend change. Well, the MACD lines, if we're looking at these two, they're nowhere near crossing right now. So this being overbought is not a scary thing for me at all. And we're not talking about investing in Tesla. This is just a day trade. So I don't care that this is overbought at the levels that it's at. I wouldn't even care if they announced that they're going bankrupt. If the stock is moving up, the momentum and the trend is your friend, and we can continue to trade it in the momentum and direction that it's heading in. Another good point is over here, right? When Tesla was initially overbought on the RSI, this stock was trading at $522. From where it proceeded to run from 522 up to 900, virtually being overbought the entire time. I mean, the RSI was screaming here at one point above 80. It was up to 85, and it just kept running and running. So don't rely too much on one indicator. All right, the next one, actually, you know what? I'm going to start moving into my side charts here. So I'm going to do a quick review. NIO, Uber, Apple, Tesla, all making the main chart watch list as of right now. And that's subject to change based on the morning opening prices, but I'm pretty set on having those four as our main chart watch list. All right, so for our side charts, we're going to talk about number one is UPST. And this is another one where, the RSI is overbought. But look, it was saying it was overbought right here at $161, and the stock has run all the way to 400. So, it's not a big deal that the RSI is overbought. The trend is up, and the stock is strong. Let's just stick with that as our indicator for now, right? UPST, very simple analysis. It's trading at the all-time highs. It's trading underneath the $400 whole number. All that we're looking for from here is a break of 400. I'm loving this intraday setup that UPST presented to us Friday, sorry. This is known as a symmetrical triangle, so it is not necessarily a bullish pattern, it's not necessarily a bearish pattern, it's a neutral one. But if you include the previous price action, then it starts to look like a bull pennant. Right, so with this run up, it made sense that it would have a day where it consolidated and moved a little bit, but I like the fact that this happened because that's telling me that this might be ready for another run from here. And if you don't feel comfortable with trading UPST at these levels, I totally understand. I'm not 100% comfortable taking UPST at these levels either, but the stock is a monster and there's virtually nothing from stopping it from continuing to run up because where is the history of price action telling us that there's resistance overhead? There's nothing there. There's nothing there that's going to stop this, except for maybe the whole numbers or buyers being exhausted. So trade with caution, yes, absolutely. But I still like UPST over 400. Make sure that you have your alerts set there. If you want to wait on extra confirmation, look for a break of 401.5. All right, back to the daily chart time frame. UPST is number 1 on the side chart watch list. Number 2 will be Amazon, AMZN. I love the move up that Amazon made off of the 200 EMA. I love the move that it made over the 50 EMA. I love the move that it made over the $3,400 whole number. What I don't like is that it was such a big move. Does that make sense? I love the fact that it made a big move, but it was such a big move. This is a huge candle for this stock. So unfortunately, from where Amazon is currently trading at up to the next resistance point, which is this gap area here at 34.30, there's only a 0.5% profit margin there. And we know that gap areas act as natural points of support and resistance, right? So we have to put this, I'm putting this on the side chart watch list for this reason. Amazon presents a good setup. The momentum is there, but it's such a big move in such a short amount of time, and there's overhead resistance not far away. This means that the profit margin there is very limited. So if you're trading Amazon for a continuation idea, I like it, but keep in mind that the resistance isn't far off. 34.30 is a likely resistance. Now, over that point, if it can get over that point, this is where it gets interesting because now we've got a gap to fill. Right? So that gap runs all the way up to 34.50. That's looking a little better. It's still not our 2% profit margin that we aim for, but it's over 1%. So it's not less than 1%. It's a little bit over. That's looking a lot more like it's worth it, right? And what I'm trying to gauge here is basically your risk to reward. Is the reward enough? Is the reward enough here on this trade to be able to assume risk? I'm going to leave that up to you to decide. Definitely, without a doubt, keep your alerts set on Amazon over 34.30 because that is a gap area that's worth watching. But if it's going to continue up, it has to hold 3,400 in my opinion, and you'd want to see new highs put in over 34.10. So Amazon for us will be a side chart watch over 34.10 for the run to 34.30. Keep in mind, profit margins limited there. Over 34.30, that's where it gets interesting, up to 34.50. All right, the next one on our side chart watch list is AMD. AMD, I've pointed this pattern out to you multiple times. We've been calling it out ever since it bounced here near 100 the first time. Put in higher highs, bounced again, bounced again, bounced again. Then most recently put in higher highs, breaking this downtrend. And it's starting to move back up. I think that 120 is not, it's not a matter of if AMD gets to 120 again. I think it's a matter of when. The only thing that's slightly frustrating with this is that earnings is coming up because I would entertain a swing trade idea on AMD for a longer period of time, but I don't necessarily like holding through earnings reports because anything could happen. So what I'm looking for on AMD is just, it's very simple. I just want to see higher highs put in. So that's going to be a break of 113. All right, so just keep, you see I have 2 alerts set there. Just keep your alerts set over 113 on AMD. Keep in mind that this area over here where this wick is, 114.5 area, 114, that's going to be a likely point of resistance, but all you really need is about $1 move on this stock anyways to yield a decent return. So long idea over 113. If it gets there, it did start to, I mean, it did print a red day, right? So it might need a day or two to cool off and pull back, but I don't think that this drops back below 108 from where it's currently at, unless it just consolidates into earnings and the earnings report says otherwise. All right, so AMD alert set over 113 for the move later on this week. Since we're talking about the AM stocks, we'll go ahead and add in AMC. AMC. This setup reminds me of Apple, actually, where it pulled back, then started to flatline, broke the downtrend on the pullback, and is now close to putting in higher highs, but not quite there. The resistance point's placed at 42. We can see that here, here, and here. It needs to break over 42. I like the fact that it reclaimed the 50 EMA. I like the fact that it held the $40 whole number as support. Needs to get over 42 for the run up to about 43.5. And then there's a gap area over that level up to about 44.2. Right, so AMC, set your alerts at 42. We'll revisit this play later in the week if it gets close to that or if it decides to break that level. For now, AMC is just something I'm putting on my side chart watch list. It's just a back burner stock until it gets up to 42. By the way, if you're just joining in, welcome in, welcome in. I'm talking about my side charts for this week. If you missed the beginning part of this stream, don't worry, it's recorded. It will be uploaded as soon as I end this stream. You can go back and rewatch the beginning part so you don't miss anything. We have already talked about NIO, Amazon, Uber, Apple, Tesla, UPST, and AMD. We just reviewed AMC. I'm going to give you guys two more stocks that I like, and then I'll get into the charting requests. All right, so the first one is Microsoft. I like the setup on this stock. I like where it's currently at, which is underneath the all-time highs. It just needs a little bit more to get there. Microsoft is one of those names that's not prone to making large moves intraday. So from where it's at now, which is at 304.2, it needs to push one more day, I think, up to 306, or maybe even break 306 a little bit for it to truly have my interest. The all-time highs, yes, they're at 305.84, but I'm just rounding that up to 306. That's where I'd like to see a break at. So Microsoft, side chart watch until it gets up to 306, and then if it gets there, when it gets there, we'll put it on the watch list for a breakover and an all-time high trade. Plus, we have what coming up? Earnings. Earnings season's upon us, baby. You're going to see a lot of these stocks start to run in anticipation of the earnings report. It happens all the time. So, keep an eye on, even if earnings is a couple of weeks out, just keep an eye on when it's upcoming. If you see that stock start to show some upward momentum, it might be a decent swing trade. All right, the last one I want to talk about is PENN, P-E-N-N. Some of my traders decided to take this on the break of this 200 EMA here for a swing idea, which at the time I didn't disagree with. It was looking like it was very clearly breaking the downtrend and moving up, and then it just came right back down. But it did put in a higher low and has maintained that level of support at 70, so now it's kind of trapped. It's trapped between $70 being the support and $80 being the resistance. So the only thing I want to alert here is that it's a case of old support, right, at 80 becoming new resistance. So just set your alerts at $80, and if and when that goes off, we will have a potential trade on PENN. Not quite there yet. Needs to push up a little higher. I'd like to see a close just under 80, or maybe right at 80 or a little over it. Then we put it on the watch list. All about waiting for confirmation on these stocks that are range trading. Somebody asked me earlier, Gates, what do you think about Snapchat going into earnings? I think the same thing that I've thought about Snapchat for the past 3 months. it's stuck in a range, right? It's stuck between $70 and $80, literally the same two levels. It did break out and make new highs, and I think we had it on the watch list that day. But it came right back down, right? We never got a follow-through move on Snapchat. So when it came back down in the range, I'm just like, I'm not putting it on the watch list. I really don't care what it does in this range. When it breaks 80 or 70, it will have my interest, and that is the same way I feel about PEN. I do not care how long it consolidates within that level. I'll be there when it breaks and makes a directional move to either side, right? Ranges can break up or down. All right, so let's get into the charting requests here that you're typing up. I'm open to taking any type of request that you want to put out there. So I don't normally do this, but you know, if you really like penny stocks, I'll take a look at those as well. Somebody said, sounds like I'm refreshed and pumped for this upcoming week. Yeah, of course. I mean, have you seen the market? Have you seen these setups that we have? It looks great. I'm super excited for this upcoming week. I try not to. I mean, you know, you don't want to trade with emotion, but you can be excited about setups and upcoming events. I love earnings season because it presents so much opportunity. I personally, like, I don't hold anything through earnings except for my long-term portfolio, but I don't hold anything through earnings. And for that reason, I welcome those big drops because what they give us is opportunity. Look at that drop. You remember that drop on Amazon? Look at this gap on Amazon from earnings, right? Massive, massive drop down. Adrian, I think you were even in on this trade, maybe a little early, but not only did it drop down, it continued to fall. Big buying opportunity there for the run back up. Over a 300-point recovery move, you know, per share. So, and it did that not only once, but it dropped down twice to that same level and has since started to recover. So yeah, I'm super stoked for this upcoming week. I think we've got some great setups, and earnings is a lot of fun to trade as well. After the reports, not through them. All right, somebody said stock MA, ticker MA. This is MasterCard. Their analysis was this. It's breaking the downtrend on the weekly and has a bull pennant on the hourly. So let's see. I would say on the daily chart, it's not breaking the downtrend. On the weekly chart, well, it never really broke the uptrend on the weekly, right? It's still over that 50 EMA. So a stock trading over the 200 EMA is considered to be in an uptrend. A stock trading over the 200 and the 50 is really considered to be in an uptrend. So it never really broke the uptrend, but I see what you're talking about. From this recent drop down, it's supposedly breaking the downtrend here. I would also respectfully disagree with you, because if we're looking at this as a trend line break, what you want to do, and a lot of traders, I see them make this mistake intraday, is what you want to do is make sure that you're connecting the peak to the first rally, right? And this prevents fake outs. So that peak connected to the first rally would look something like that. Now, where people get faked out is that they connect the peak to all of the downtrend, ignoring that first rally. Then they buy on this rally thinking that it's moving up and get stopped out when it pulls back, right? Because we could also argue that if this is the only price action that we're looking at, that looks like a bear flag pattern, right? So that's why you want to connect that peak to the first rally, because you don't want to get caught buying in the bear flag and then watching it drop down further. So I would disagree with you that it's breaking the downtrend on the, if we're just looking at this on the weekly. I definitely don't see it here on the daily, and here's why. Because MA has not put in higher highs. It is very range bound though, so it did stop putting in lower lows. So now we have a support around 340, but it's stuck between 340 and 360. So for MA, what I would look for from here is a break over 360, maybe even push it up to like include these wicks as well. Maybe a break of 360 or a break of 364, depending on how early you want to take an entry, and wait for true confirmation. Because it seems that even if you wait on a break of 364, you're still not missing out on a whole lot of profit margin, given that it's got another 7 or 8% there up to these most recent highs. So that's how I would trade it. Unless you're looking to trade it within this range, then from where it's currently at, it does have room to run to 360. That's very possible as well. That's a nice move up. That's really clean price action too. I would be cautious about the volume here as well. What do these contracts look like? Open interest is somewhat low on the contracts. The spread's not too bad. Your open interest is low, so I would be, again, just be cautious if you're trying to take a day trade on this. But yeah, over 360 would give you more confirmation. Over 364 would give you extra confirmation. All right, Rico is asking about GOOG. From a technical standpoint, I really don't see anything here that looks super enticing. Maybe if it was up near 2,900, but it's not quite there yet. If it breaks 2860, that would be something that's interesting because it would then be putting in a higher high above that peak there. But yeah, I would look for it to hold 2,800 from here. Maybe look for a break of 2860 in the run to 29. But for me, I would not even be interested in taking a trade on this until it gets up to 29. And it may just move sideways with earnings, but who knows, right? So keep your alerts set at those two levels, and if they go off, then you have your first alert at 2960 or 2860 should serve as like a reminder alert, and then at 2900 you should really be considering a position. That's how I would analyze Goog. Somebody's calling out LCID. Yeah, so this was a big one not too long ago, right? Big run up, and then the massive pullback, and I think that trapped people. That trapped people for so long. So just looking at this chart right here, we're gonna go with a resistance point right at around, I'd say 28. I would not say 1 point. I would say that this whole area is your resistance area. From 28 to 30 is your resistance area. So most recently downtrending, but also reclaimed that 200. So it dropped below the 200 EMA, reclaimed that 200 EMA, tested the resistance area, rejected, and now started to push back up off of that 200 EMA. So $25 is not a level that I would consider a whole number. I would consider $30 a whole number, and that would be when this stock really gets interesting above 30. That's when it gets super interesting. But for right now, if you're just looking at taking a potential day trade on this, I would wait for a break of 25 because it's not a whole number, but it's a psychological level, right? So think about quarters, 25, 50, 75, 100. All of those are psychological levels, but only two of them, 50 and 100, I would deem as a whole number, something that's heavily traded around. So 25 being a psychological level, I would wait for a break of that. For the run, maybe back up to like 26, 27, 28. But it really gets interesting above 30. So what I'm going to do is set an alert there at 30. But yeah, if you're looking to take a trade sooner, a break of 25 would work for LCID. Somebody mentioned DKNG. All right, so this is a setup. I actually looked at this earlier. This is a setup that I like, but not from a bullish standpoint. The setups that I like, they can go both ways, like gap setups, ranges, etc. It just really depends on what the sentiment of the stock is. DKNG has had a massive pullback, right? So it pulled back, bear flag, dropped all the way to the 200 EMA. Didn't try to even hold that as support, just flushed right through it. Finally found support around 47.7, but then every time it rebounded, it was rejecting that 200 EMA. So just like we said earlier, a stock trading over the 200 EMA is considered to be in an uptrend, while a stock trading below that 200 EMA is considered to be in a downtrend. So where this is at right now, and given the volume on the move down, I would assume that there was some negative news associated with this. I haven't done my research, so don't quote me on that, but I would assume that that is the case there. So not only do you have a stock that's already downtrending, but you also have a stock that's rejecting the 200 EMA from a technical standpoint and potentially has fundamental backing on negative news for the drop further. So I would be looking for a breakdown of that range if I were a short bias trader, and look at taking a short position probably below 47.5. A new low means that this comes down, and the next support you're going to find here is going to be right around 46 and then 44, and then even the big support being at 42 off of those two drops there. So still plenty of room for DKNG to come down, but yeah, I would look for a break of the most recent low here at 47.5. Otherwise, if it validates as support, I would just wait for a break of that 200 EMA, so maybe a break of like $52. Yeah, somebody just called out LCID. So if you missed that breakdown, just be sure to rewatch the stream. All of this is recorded, so when I end this stream, you'll be able to rewatch it from the beginning and check out the analysis that I did. VZ, somebody said VZ. I don't like the drop here. That was a big drop, a lot of volume. I'm assuming that was also negative news. Then you get this is what's called a dead cat bounce. So when a stock drops pretty quickly, with such big selling pressure, you get what's called a dead cat bounce to relieve some of that selling pressure. This candle right here is known as a shooting star candlestick, where the top wick of the candle is usually about 2 times larger than the body of the candle. And it's actually, despite what it looks like, I know it's green, but despite what it looks like, it's actually a bearish reversal candlestick. So this is telling me that the stock price fell, buyers stepped in, or the sellers got relieved here for a little bit, pushed the stock up, and it's just like buying the dip, right? If the stock was breaking out and pulling back, you're looking to buy this dip right here for the next run up. Well, flip this. This is the stock that's pulling back and pushing up. What do you think the shorts are doing? They're looking to short that rally and bring it back down. So my opinion on VZ is that it comes back down from where it's currently at. But with earnings coming up, I don't know that I would even touch it until that report comes out. So from a technical standpoint, I don't really see anything here. Maybe look for a break of 52 to bring it back down if you're short biased on this one. Let me look at the weekly chart. I gotta back this up actually. Max available. Let's see. Yeah, I mean there's plenty of room for that to fall. This is actually an H pattern too. So that was a big level of support that it didn't hold right there at 54, and I think maybe that's why you saw that volume come in. But again, I don't know, like I haven't fundamentally looked this up, so you know, maybe it's something to do with earnings or some kind of news or what. All right, somebody mentioned Netflix. This is really easy analysis. There's nothing here. Earnings is really close. So it's actually this week. So I think that Netflix is probably one of those names. I mean, it has run already, right? Big run up into new all-time highs. It's just consolidating right now. I don't see this making a massive move before earnings. It could happen, but I don't see it being a likely scenario. So what I would do on Netflix is just keep your alert set at these highs around 647. If you get a break and run before earnings, great. But I don't think that it realistically happens before the report comes out. So it's my opinion that Netflix has already ran so much, it's probably just going to chill and consolidate into earnings. All right, somebody said coin. Massive move on Friday with a volume close at high of day, looking for a continuation play above 282 for the run to 290. Yes and no. So I agree with you on Coin that it's a big move and it looks great from a technical perspective, but Coin is what? It's a crypto app, right? Coinbase. So what heavily influences the way that Coin moves? Crypto, of course. Bitcoin, right? The big one. So I think that from a technical standpoint, it's going to be tough to analyze things like Coin. It's going to be tough to analyze things like Mara because they just move so heavily with Bitcoin. But you're looking for a break of what? 282 for the run. So basically over the previous day's high, 282 up to 290. Yes, given normal circumstances, right? Provided that nothing from a fundamental standpoint influences the way that Coin moves. Speaking about Bitcoin here, from a technical standpoint, yeah, I agree with you, Adrian. I like the move up. I like the volume. I like the break of this range, the reclaim of the 200 EMA, the fact that it's trading right at this resistance. I love all of that. I see the next profit target being 290 as well, and then ultimately 300. But it might depend on Bitcoin. That's the only thing. So just keep that in mind if you're trading Coin from a technical standpoint, that you might have outside factors also influencing the way that this moves. Which Bitcoin's back above, I haven't checked it today, but it was back above 60,000. I think it hit 62 briefly, and might be on its way to making new highs here soon. So again, if that's the case, then Coin probably will run in sympathy with that, and that might just be the catalyst that this needs to run back up to 300 plus. All right, let's look. We'll do three more. So NVDA, somebody mentioned. This one's hard stuck right here. It is breaking this most recent downtrend. Nice little move up, but it's still making lower highs on a grander scale, right? So I'm not really interested in trading NVIDIA, to be honest, until it gets back up towards 230. That to me is the safest place to consider taking a position. So I'm waiting on NVIDIA to get there. Yes, there's a possible play over 220, but keep in mind that if it breaks 220, which I see what you're deriving that from, if it breaks 220, you've got resistance around 221, you've got resistance around 223, then you've definitely got resistance at 225. So you'd be trying to guess how far this is going to move before it stops. I'd rather just wait on the move to 230 and not play any guessing games and say, yeah, there's nothing here that's going to stop this from moving once it breaks that price point. You see what I'm getting at? So for NVIDIA, yeah, play is possible over 220, but keep in mind there's a lot of little minor resistance points up to about 225. Then you can see a move to 230. Definitely you'll have resistance there, and then a break of 230 is where I'll be putting it on my watch list. Somebody mentioned Home Depot HD, so it's trading at $350. We're going to back this up to the max available time frame. That is truly the all-time highs. Is there a possible continuation trade here? Yes, probably. All-time highs are awesome setups to trade because there's nothing here that's really stopping it from continuing to move up. Plus, what I like about Home Depot is that it kind of falls into that retail category, right? So I always say that different seasons can cause the market to move in different ways. And right around this time frame, when we enter October, November, December, what do we got coming up? Big holidays, right? We've got Black Friday coming up. We've got Christmas coming up. A lot of these retail stores and even online retail e-commerce stores, so maybe something like Shopify, Amazon, Walmart, Target, Best Buy, Home Depot, all of those names might start to see a push going into the holiday season. So yeah, absolutely. Possible continuation play on Home Depot over the highs at 351. 100% agree with that one. The only thing that I don't like is from a contract standpoint, just being an options trader, there's pretty low open interest here. So keep that in mind. But yeah, if this is the type of stock that you like to trade, it's usually a slower mover, then by all means over 351, set your alerts and rock with it. All right, we're going to do MRNA. MRNA. I said I would only do 3 more, but we'll see where I might do 1 more after this one. So MRNA, pullback, gap down. There was some negative news, actually. Well, not necessarily about MRNA, but negative news as far as these booster shots and stuff goes. That there's a COVID pill out now, right? So who needs the shot when you could take the pill? I don't really have a political opinion about that. I just trade the chart, and here's what I see: downtrend, lost the 50 EMA, felt like it was overextended anyways. Oftentimes when stocks get extended off that 200 EMA, what they like to do is pull back to it to test it as support. Then we go from there, right? So downtrend, a little bit of a curl up here. We actually traded that long at the break of 320 last week for the moves up. And now we got a rejection here at this peak. So it didn't move up too much, rejected right there at 340, started to come back down. This candlestick formation is known as a bearish engulfing candlestick. So the body of this candle totally engulfs the body of this candle without regard to the wicks. So this is again, bearish reversal formation. I would be looking for the continuation move to the bottom side, short below 319, whatever this low is right here. So it looks like it's 318. I would look to take a continuation short on this below 318 for the move down. Your support point is going to be, your big support point is going to be that whole number at 300. And then definitely if it breaks 300, I'd look to drag that all the way down to 260. That's going to be your 200 EMA. Oh, there's actually a gap here. So maybe 270 first, and then from 270 down to 260. If you're just joining in, you joined the stream a little late, but that's all right. It is recorded, so just rewatch the stream after I end it, and you'll be able to catch everything that I talked about. So far, I've talked about NIO, Amazon, Uber, Apple, Tesla, UPST, AMC, AMD, PENN, all potentially making my watch list for tomorrow. I've broken those up into main charts and side charts, so again, just rewatch the stream. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. If this stuff is helping you out, I go live at least once a week on Sundays and give out awesome information. So hopefully, you can just make some money off of these alerts that I'm kind of giving out here. These mentions, rather. I don't want to call them alerts, but mentions. Some good setups leading us into next week. All right, let's do one more. Since we already reviewed AMC, I don't want to do GME. Let's do SoFi, SOFI. Since I was in California, flew right over the SoFi Stadium there in LA. Wow, tough chart. Tough chart to analyze, and what a big range here. So overall support is going to be here around 14. And then from the highs at 28, it's been making lower highs all the way down. So I would draw something like that. Let me back that up. That is all the price action there. So most recently had a big run off that 200 EMA. So from a percentage standpoint, well, this thing makes big moves anyways. So from a percentage standpoint, that was about a 23% move before it started to curl over. $20 is a whole number. So I always talk about whole numbers being 50, 100, 150, 200, etc. But 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 are also whole numbers also. So I would say that a break of 20 looks good for a continuation trade up, but because it's moved up so fast in such a short amount of time, this might need some time to pull back. In the event that it does pull back, I wouldn't want to see this break below 18. Why? Because old resistance can become new support. So if this is to pull back, it should hold that old resistance as new support before continuing up. You want to see consistent higher lows put in. This is a good example back here. When it started to push up the first time, boom, resistance at 16. Broke 16, pulled back. What'd it do? Validate 16 as a support before pushing up higher, right? Breaking 18, the resistance. So now that it's pushing to 20, I would look for 18 to hold as the new support, putting in a higher low, and then look for ultimately the break of 20. But I think that this might need to pull back a little bit. Let me see that price action there on the 5-minute. Yeah, I would give it, maybe it doesn't even pull back, right? I would just give it a couple of days. The longer that this consolidates up here, but under 20, the better, because it's basically at that point would be doing what it did in these areas, which is building a base before making the next leg up. So set alerts at $20, but if it does pull back, you don't want to see it drop below 18. Cool. All right. Well, we're right at that 1 hour mark. Thank you, everybody, for joining in. Press the like button for me if you haven't done so already. Subscribe to the channel. I hope that the stream has helped you out. I hope that you make some money tomorrow. We will be trading live this week on Tuesday and Thursday. That's taking place in my Discord server. So the link to join that is in my bio. I will see everybody else in chat tomorrow. Keep an eye out for the updated trigger levels being put out on the watch list. Take care. Good luck this week. Let's make some money. Peace.